Yeah, one of the roles of money, as you just alluded to, is that money needs to represent a store of value. And the reason that that's so important is because that facilitates savings, right? You're not going to save money if you anticipate that its value is going to erode over time. So you need something that has a store value. And the reason savings are so important in a market economy is because, contrary to the conventional wisdom, spending is not what grows the economy. People who believe that are basically putting the cart before the horse. What actually grows an economy is the opposite of spending. It's underconsumption, it's savings, it's the money we don't spend that makes the economy grow. Because when we don't spend it and it's saved, that money is available to finance capital investments, business expansion, job creation. All the things that grow the economy flow through from savings. You know, a popular refrain, with the Occupy Wall Street crowd is when they say, the businesses don't create jobs. When you say we're going to tax the job creators, they say, no, the job creators are the consumers, because they're the ones that are spending the money. And they say, well, if there were no customers, then there would be no businesses. But of course, what that theory overlooks is, where do the consumers get the money, right? They get it from their jobs. So you can't say that consumers create jobs when you need jobs to have consumers. So it's the other way around. And what gives the consumer purchasing power is his productivity. Right? If everybody just had a job from the government and the government printed money and gave it to people, that wouldn't, there'd be no demand because there'd be no supply. There'd be nothing to buy because nobody would be working. What creates the purchasing power is the production. And the production comes from productivity. And what makes workers productive is capital. It's the tools and the equipment that they have. If they were simply using their hands, they couldn't produce nearly as much. And all of that capital, all of those tools are only here because of savings. So savings are very important. And also, savings help determine the rate of interest, because interest rates are a very important aspect of money, because interest rates represent a price. And like all prices, they are determined by supply and demand. The supply is all the savings. The demand is all the people that want to borrow money, whether it's businesses, whether it's college students, someone wants to buy a car, the government. Everybody borrowing money is competing for this store of savings, because for every dollar borrowed, somebody had to save that dollar. Somebody had to not consume and put that dollar in savings so that somebody else could spend it or invest it. And so if you have a lot of savings, right, then you're going to have lower interest rates because the supply is going to be greater. And what does that mean? If there's a lot of savings, what economic signals is that sending to the market? If people are saving a lot of money, what that says is that people prefer future consumption to current consumption. Because after all, when you're saving money, you're just deferring consumption. Every dollar you save is going to be spent eventually, except you're not going to spend it today. You want to spend it tomorrow. And hopefully you'll spend the dollar tomorrow plus all the interest that you earned over time. And so it sends out signals that if there's a lot of savings, that there's low interest rates, and then of course the economy will react, investments will be made based on the fact that consumption has been deferred to the future. And also, one of the reasons that people might save in a free market economy is, in a free market economy, contrary to, again, the conventional wisdom, prices go down. Right? The natural tendency in a free market is deflation. Prices go down. Prices went down for almost the entire history of the United States until the Federal Reserve. Our grandparents will tell us stories about how cheap things were when they were a kid. Well, their grandparents or their grandparents' grandparents told the opposite stories, how expensive things were when they were a kid and how much cheaper they are now. And the politicians try to tell us that, no, inflation is a good thing, money losing value is a good thing, because the economy would collapse if prices weren't rising. They try to make us feel that falling prices would be a disaster, when of course it's the opposite. Falling prices are a reward for capitalism. They make wages more valuable. They make savings more valuable. The argument is that, well, if prices are falling, nobody is going to buy anything. They'll just be waiting for lower prices, and of course that's absurd. We all have cell phones. We all have laptop computers, we all have plasma TVs. The prices for those items are falling all the time. That doesn't stop people from buying them. In fact, it encourages people to buy them. If cell phones were still as expensive as they were when they first came out, nobody in this room would have one. The reason that we buy them is because the prices are coming down. So it's the exact opposite. Falling prices create demand. It's not the other way around. But that's another reason that people save. If you save your money and money gains value, you can buy more stuff in the future, not only because you earned interest, but because things got cheaper, the money became more valuable. So if you have a lot of savings, you can have low interest rates. If you don't have a lot of savings, well, you're going to have high interest rates. And the beauty of this is, let's assume that there's not a lot of people saving money and a lot of people want to borrow money. Well, you have a very limited supply. You have a lot of demand. What happens to price? Price goes up. So interest rates go up. Higher interest rates discourage people from borrowing because it's more expensive, and they encourage people to save. And ultimately, the market's going to create an equilibrium between savings and debt, and you're going to have a market rate of interest. And investments are going to be made, capital projects are going to be made that can be adequately financed.